Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, viewers, is your water bottle safe or is it contaminated? Well, imagine this. It's a warm Sunday afternoon and you're driving down the road with wind in your hair, maybe with your family and friends by your side. And then the thirst kicks in. The kind of thirst that only a refreshing bottle of water can fix. So you pull over at the nearest shop, ready to grab a bottle of water. And as you reach out for that bottle of water, your phone gets a notification and you learn that a surprising twist has come in. The FSSAI has decided to reclassify packaged drinking water as high-risk food item. Well, that's right. And this is coming in at a time when one of the latest surveys is also suggesting that 93% of the water bottle samples that they had tested contains microplastic particles. So how can you keep yourself and your family safe? Well, in this edition of Blueprint Explosive Exclusive, we will be telling you more about it, and you can also call us on the phone numbers there flashing at the bottom of your screens. But before that, here are some statistics for you. Well, India's bottled water market has experienced significant growth over the years, and it has reached a valuation of a whopping $3.8 billion. This was in 2024, this year. Now, while this surge in demand, of course, reflects the increasing preference for packaged water, it also highlights the need for stringent quality control measures. Now, studies over the past few years have shown that packaged water may contain various pollutants. Why do we need these stringent checks and measures? Let's tell you what you may find in your water bottle other than water just. First, plastics. That could be microplastics, nanoplastics, all of that may be part of a packaged drinking water. You also have phthalates, which is a chemical that is used to make plastic much more durable, and it ends up being part of your water bottle as well. Pesticides, that's another big red alert which has been sounded. Bottled and packaged water may contain pesticide residue as well. So what do the experts say? Well, they say apart from water, which usually has bacterial, fungal and chemical invasion, even food items such as meats, chicken and even vegetables come under this high-risk category of the FSSAI. So let us also tell you, what does the high-risk food really mean and how you can prevent contamination. We are going to first tell you what it really means. It means that this is the food item category which has been defined as ready-to-eat food. However, the high-risk food should be kept separate from the raw food. Also, high-risk food involves an outbreak of food poisoning as well, could be one of the outcomes as per experts. So what really needs to be done? Let's tell you about what next, what should be done, what are the ways to prevent this kind of contamination. You can keep organic food and packaged food items separate from each other. You can avoid keeping food and packaged items at room temperature. Also, you can keep the food contact surfaces clean instead of keeping it dirty and keep it sanitized instead. Also, don't refreeze food that has already been defrosted. That's just some of the things that you can do. So let me go across to our panelists. Today joining us on the show are two health experts. We have Professor Sriram Khanna, the managing editor of Consumer Voice magazine. Also Dr. Prashant Mehta is joining us, an oncologist and a senior consultant at the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences. We are going to ask you, the viewers, to connect with us directly as well through the call numbers, the phone numbers that we have flashing at the bottom of your screens. Now, Professor Khanna, I'm going to come to you first. You must explain to us what really does this high risk category really mean now that bottled water has been added to it by the FSSAI? And if it is high risk, why is it that over the decades it hasn't been? Why now?
Let me give you the background to this. Perhaps 2 decades back, when there were test reports by certain laboratories that the packaged drinking water and the mineral water was not according to the national standards, the ministry, the government decided to put it under compulsory ISI marking by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So it became compulsory. And all these years it has been compulsory. When this was done, there was no Food Safety and Standards Authority. There was the Central Committee of Food Standards and the normal government infrastructure that managed all the food standards. But after the enactment of the Food Safety Law in the nearly 2 decades ago, the Food Safety and Standards Authority has become a full-fledged body with proper enforcement manpower, a system, rules, regulations, and a functioning and oversight mechanism. Along with the state governments, in each state have a district food safety officer. So they have a system of registering every food item. And they categorize food items in high-risk categories in which more closer oversight is required. For example, there are audits by accredited bodies, there is testing, etc. So by adding water in the high-risk category, it has been subject now to audits by the authorized accredited audit bodies.
Right.
So anybody manufacturing water will be subject to audit according to the system.
Well, that's interesting. This audit, of course, is going to be annual as well, and it is going to be before they actually get their licenses, and that's going to be very critical, isn't it? Now, Dr. Mehta, I'm going to bring you in. You must explain to us what are these microplastics which are apparently there, because one of the studies has gone to the extent of saying that 93% of the samples that they had said. I'm not going into the sample side and the veracity of the research, but this is one of the research which has said 93% of the samples that they were looking at had microplastics as one of the biggest pollutants which are part of bottled water.
So it's quite concerning actually. Microplastics are actually rampant, and they are in our food, water, and in air. They're everywhere, and not only in packaged drinking water, they're there in our tap water, everywhere they're there. And also, research has shown that in the tissue, in our tissue, they are accumulating at, in most tissues they are there. And in fact, in diseased tissue like atherosclerotic plaques, in the arteries, which clog the blood vessels, they have been found. They've also been found in inflammatory bowel disease, in biopsy specimens. And they also are now thought to exert some sort of cytotoxic effect, and they can probably be mutagenic also. So yes, they are a major risk, and it's being studied, and there is accumulating evidence now that they are linked in some ways to human disease, and not only non-malignant disease, but also malignant disease. Probably they may be linked. So, but this is something which is accumulating. The evidence is accumulating.
What is malignant and non-malignant diseases? If you can just explain that to us, because a lot of the viewers are still trying to wrap their heads around, thinking, so what if we have a bottle of water? So what?
So a bottle of water can actually mean a lot of things. It can have, not only pollutants like microplastics, but can have infectious organisms. So malignant and non-malignant, by that I mean malignant is cancerous diseases, non-malignant is, other diseases which is, benign. As an oncologist, I use these terms often. That's why I've used it here also. So the infectious concerns are always there in, these packaged foods, the way they are stored, the way they're manufactured. So there is a risk of bacterial infections, very common infections like E. coli, salmonella, these bacteria which cause diarrheal illnesses, and many of these diarrheal illnesses actually happen in children, which can be actually fatal. And some of these diarrheal illnesses like Vibrio cholerae, like cholera, they can be so aggressive that they can rapidly dehydrate a person, and they can rapidly be fatal if not treated in time. And this is the infectious concerns. Then the parasites can be there, worms can be there, and then we are talking of pollutants now, like microplastics. And not only that, we must talk of heavy metals, and we must talk of industrial pollutants and other pollutants which can be there, and this can actually accumulate in the body. I didn't get you. Sorry.
Like pesticides.
Like pesticides, absolutely. So all this is in our environment, and we have actually made an environment like that.
Right.
We could say that it's actually, a lot of it is actually man-made.
Absolutely unfortunate, isn't it? But look what's coming back. Perhaps many would say the price of development. Let me go across to some of our viewers who are calling us. They all have questions for our two experts. Varsha and Narendra are calling in right now. Varsha, a viewer calling us from Mumbai. Go ahead, Varsha.
Hello.
Hi, Varsha. We can hear you. Go ahead. I'd like to request all our viewers, when you give us a call, can you please put your television sets on mute? You'll be able to hear us better and not get that echo. Go ahead, Varsha.
Am I on the line? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Varsha.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk of God's gift to us, that is water. We are using water which comes from the mountains. Please. We are using water. And what are we doing to the rivers? What are we doing to the glaciers? What are we doing to the sea? Our source of water drinking is only from nature. And we have, look at the flooded streets of Tamil Nadu. That is a river in spate. Why is it in spate? Because human beings have crossed all decency in looking after the nature that comes to us. What are we putting in the rivers? We are putting the overflow of the ponds. That is pesticides. We are putting all the sewage into the rivers. And then why are you blaming on the bottled water? What is cleaning Ma Ganga done? What is happening to Yamuna? What is happening to the rivers? Nothing. Because the government for 10 years has been screaming, oh, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. But they expect us to take a dip when our father dies? No. But the same bottled water is sitting at the cabinet meeting with the Prime Minister and the whole team drinking from that same bottled water.
Well, yes, very emotive voices which are coming in, and I completely agree with you. At the end of it, look at what natural water has really come down to. Can any of us today stop at a stream, stop at a river, especially if you're living in Delhi, for example, to take a sip of water? No, we cannot, because that's what we've reduced our rivers to. That's what natural water is, as contaminated as ever, isn't it? Let me go across to Narendra, one of our viewers calling us from Himachal. Go ahead, Narendra.
हेलो
Narendra, we can hear you. Go ahead.
मैं नागेंद्र सिंह नेगी बोल रहा हूँ हिमाचल प्रदेश के सरकाघाट मंडी से।
नागेंद्र जी बोलिए।
मैडम, प्लास्टिक और माइक्रो प्लास्टिक की तो ये स्थिति है कि हैंडपंप में 150-200 फीट की बोरिंग करने के बाद जो है वो माइक्रो प्लास्टिक निकल रहा है। और ये जितने भी मिलावटखोरी, और ये खाद्य नियंत्रण एवं कंट्रोल विभाग है, खाद्य आपूर्ति विभाग है, सैनिटरी विभाग है, FSSAI, FSSAI की जो जाली मोहरें लगती हैं मैडम, इसके लिए कौन जिम्मेदार है? त्योहारों के दिनों में मिठाई की क्या हालत है, सब्जी मंडी, मीट, अंडे, मसाले, हर चीज में मिलावट है, शराब में मिलावट है, हर जगह मिलावट ही मिलावट है। मैडम, कौन इसके लिए करेगा? आजादी के 70 साल के बाद भी अगर हमें ये मिलावट की हवा पानी मिल रही है तो इसके लिए कौन जिम्मेदार? उन लोगों को मुस्तैदी से काम करना चाहिए, सरकारों को जानना चाहिए। और उपभोक्ता जागरूकता के अभियान को चंद दिनों के लिए आप चलाते हैं, उसके बाद जो है उसको सब जितने भी विभाग है, सरकारें हैं, वो कुंभकर्ण की नींद सो जाती है। हद हो चुकी है अब तो मैडम जी। ये जो मोदी के जो स्वास्थ्य की जो बात करते हैं, ये कहाँ तक आपका लागू होगा? उत्पादन से 4 गुना जो है ज्यादा की जो है खर्चा इसमें स्वास्थ्य विभाग जो के आयुष्मान और दूसरी मुद्दों के ऊपर खर्चा हो रहा है। और
जी बिल्कुल, आपने ठीक बात बोली कि देयर हैज बीन सो मच ऑफ कंटेमिनेशन that everywhere, no matter how deep the borewell is, that is the quality of natural water, that too is still polluted. And remember, this is one of our viewers calling us from Himachal. Imagine what it would be like in other cities. Let me go across to Basu, one of our viewers calling us from Kolkata. Go ahead, Basu.
Yeah.
Well, looks like we've lost our audio connection. Let me go across to our next viewer, Dev Kumar, calling us from Bengaluru. Go ahead, Dev.
Hello?
Yes, Dev Kumar, we can hear you.
Yeah. I want to tell the viewers I carry.
Seems to be a bit of a problem there with your audio, Dev. Let me go across to Arvind, our viewer calling us from Chennai.
Yeah. This to the doctors, especially the oncologists and we are forced to drink water from the 20-liter can. So how do you reduce the amount of nanoplastic or microplastic?
That's a very valid point. A very valid point. Dr. Mehta, you want to take that. How do we reduce it? What can we do to keep ourselves safe?
So I think the RO systems which we use, so these microplastics and nanoplastics are very small in size, and so the microplastics are 5 mm in size, below 5 mm, and some of these can actually be taken care by these systems which filter the water, which have a very small bore size. So that is probably what I feel, but I think we need to look into really whether some of these commercially available filter systems can actually take care of the nanoplastics and even smaller particles which are less than 1 micron in size. So that can be, should be looked into.
And also perhaps carry your own water bottle instead of buying plastic bottles. Professor Sriram Khanna, would you like to weigh in?
Well, I must tell you that the rivers are contaminated because of the effluents which are being released into it by the cities, by the farmers, the pesticides that they spray. They are eventually drained out through the ground into the river system and underground water. So your river systems are polluted. That is why every city has set up a water treatment plant. Go to Okhla and see the amount of water they are treating from the river Yamuna and Ganga before it is put into a pipeline. Once the pipeline starts working, it comes into your home. Today, most of the homes in Delhi are not drinking tap water. They are either boiling it, or they are using candle filters, or they are using other UV or electronic filters.
Absolutely.
So without filtration, it's difficult to expect clear water, pure water. And even depends on the kind of filter you will use. So whether you use a plastic bottle or a steel bottle, ultimately you have to drink water. And my advice to people will be that they filter their water at home, they boil it, even better to kill the contaminants, but microplastics will still remain. So we have yet to come up with a proper solution for microplastics. But as far as this regulation is concerned about categorizing as packaged water as high risk, it means that the risk of contamination of this water is more. It is not only microplastics, like you said, it may be E. coli, it may be salmonella, it may be heavy metals, it may be some other pollutant, pesticide residues, or suspended particulate matter. There can be several kinds of things. So if there is proper regulation, at least the manufacturers who are filling the bottles will make sure that they are able to use proper filtration and give us pure water, or whatever is physically possible as
At least there's going to be a bit more accountability, because licenses will be directly linked to these audits, and these audits are going to be done by a third party. And that at least gives us a whole lot more faith in the entire system. These regulations were required. It's not a reason to cause an alarm, but yes, be careful, beware, and when possible, you must avoid anything which is packaged, when you could have perhaps brought water from home in a boiled water. You can use copper bottles if that helps. But those are some of the alternatives, lifestyle alternatives that perhaps it's time for us to shift to, isn't it? Well, thank you so much, Professor Sriram, as well as Dr. Mehta, for joining us here on the show, as well as all the viewers who've called in to voice your opinions on the story. This is a story which we feel is of great consumer interest and will affect each and every one of us. Without a short break, don't go anywhere.